Hey everybody, it's Wayne back at you with an options premium update, getting you caught up on all the cash flow that I earned this past week. As you guys know, I like to sell options from my Robinhood brokerage. Currently, the portfolio value is just under $400,000. We've seen some sizable gains in the last couple of months. Year-to-date total, as far as gains go, just under $20,000 or 5.23%. And if we look at the last year, my portfolio is up nearly 30%. All time for this portfolio since I began my investing journey, we're right around a 60% return or about $148,000. A big part of that is because I've been able to generate some meaningful cash flow from selling options. All right, before we give you the total premium that I earned this past week, let's highlight a few stock tickers that I sold puts against. And right now, I'm showing you all the contracts that I opened this past week. I want to actually show you a few contracts that I not only opened, but I closed before expiration this week. And I want to point out UNH. I opened this thing on the 28th of May and I closed it the same day. Now, when I sold to open, meaning that I had to have $29,250 for collateral, which means my strike price was $292.50, that contract was set to expire this Friday, today actually, but I actually only held this contract open for less than a few hours. Now, when I sold to open, I generated $310 in premium, and ultimately I paid back $168 to buy to close. That means I only had a total return of 46% on this contract, but I cannot stress this enough. I don't look at this as, oh, I only made less than 50% to generate $142. I look at this as absolutely a win for me because I only had to have that cash collateral tied up for just a few hours. And so this is just an example of me locking in profit well below what you see other options traders who will sort of aim for 75 to 95%. Another example being Tesla. Now, I opened this up once again on May 28th, but I held this for about a full day. Strike price on this contract when I sold to open this put was $352.50, which means I had to have $35,000 in collateral. Now, when I sold to open, I was paid $405 in premium. And once again, I'm content with locking in this case, 62% profit, which means I paid $154 back, locking in this $251. So in all, the point being is if you look at the average percentage of return for these four contracts that have been opened and closed this past week, I locked in 64%. That to me is a win. I don't look at this and say 64%, wow, I wish I would have locked in closer to 80 or 90%. Given that the average number of days I held these contracts open was about 1 day, I will take 64% all day long to have my money tied up for about a day. Now, I also want to feature two contracts in which I had to roll down and roll out. And this comes with the territory of selling puts. I do not want to be assigned. And so if the share price drops below my strike price, I need to be very careful and I need to aggressively roll down and roll out. And that's what happened this past week with Coinbase and Humana. So let's give you a good example of how to properly roll down and roll out. It takes discipline, it takes patience. Humana is a stock that I began selling puts against in late 2024. I want to focus here on this second contract because on December 12th, I sold to open a put, the strike price being $270, and the expiration was going to be the same week, expiring on December 20th. Now, for that contract, I received $240, but of course, the share price of Humana drops dramatically, and I had to make a decision. I'm either going to be assigned or I'm going to buy to close for a loss. But in this situation, I rolled down and I rolled out. And in doing so, there's always going to be two legs when you roll a position. The first leg involves buying to close, typically at a loss. And that's exactly what happened. I technically took a $2,800 loss on this contract, but I simultaneously opened up a new contract rolling out clear to May. Now remember, this is back in December, so that means I'm rolling out nearly 6 months, but in doing so, I was able to get a better strike price of now $250 versus the $270. And in doing so, you will see I had about a $400 net premium profit on that contract. But the problem is my $25,000 is now tied up for the next 5 or 6 months. And that's exactly what happened. And then you'll see here On May 14th, I was so close to reaching the end of this contract, and Humana once again went below the 250 strike. So again, I have to do the same thing if I don't want to buy to close for a loss or take assignment. So in this instance, I had to buy to close for $1,900, which means I took net profit of $1,500 on this contract. Now, if we go back over here, you're going to see the second leg of this roll is going to be on May 14th. Now, in this instance, I did not have to roll as far out as I did previously. I was able to push it about a few weeks out. And in doing so, I was able to go from a 250 strike to now a 245 strike. And in doing so, I did technically earn net positive premium on that transaction. But you guys can see where I'm going with this, because guess what? Humana, the share price continues to go down, and I need to aggressively manage and or roll this position. And so I decided this week that I would also do another roll. So essentially, I just continue to kick this can down the road. And in doing so, I am hopefully lowering my strike price, which means eventually if Humana sees a green day or goes back, I can hopefully buy to close, locking in profits. And so I went from a 245 strike to now a 240 strike. But in order to get the better strike and to earn that positive premium, I had to push this contract all the way out to July. So let's go ahead and break down what the profit and or loss is going to be, since I've had to roll out this position so many times. Technically in 2024, I'm negative on my Humana endeavor for 1,085. If we go over here to 2025, you'll see that I'm in the green, $2,455. If we subtract those two numbers, technically, I have still come out on top. I've made $1,300 and I have not yet been assigned. And this to me is the better case scenario, because if I had been assigned on those Humana shares, it would have been very difficult for me to generate any type of option premium while trying to sell covered calls. So the total amount of premium that I made this past week is $1,866. That puts my year-to-date total for 2025 at $38,140. That means my new weekly average is just over $1,700. Now, I'm going to go ahead and wait till the midway point of the year before I decide to officially revise that goal of $1,000 every single week. So far, I think that I'm going to be able to make more than the 52K for the year. And I actually think that I might be able to beat the 2024 total of 84,000. I think I could be on track to make around 88, maybe 90,000. So you guys are going to have to remain tuned in. Hey, let me know down in the comments, how has your options journey been? Are you making money by selling options, or are you making money by buying options? I'd love to hear from you, and we'll see you on the next one.